Good afternoon, today is May 5th, and today I'll continue to be talking about the coronavirus. So the first piece of news that I'd like to talk about is that because of dozens of meatpacking plants across the country are shutting down, there has been almost a shortage of meat for customers in fast food chains and grocery stores. So because of the coronavirus outbreak, meatpacking plants, which are already really rare, only about 500 in the entire country, are shutting down of mass virus transmissions because they seem to be thriving in the meatpacking plants. And now the impact of these disruptions is reaching customers at grocery stores like Costco and fast food chains. So for example, nearly 1/5 of Wendy's restaurants, a total of almost 1,000 locations, were completely sold out of beef products. And Costco also has limited the amount of products that you can buy for meat, and I think personally right now I feel that it is just a matter of time. After all, meatpacking plants are extremely rare, and obviously if meatpacking plants close, then we are obviously going to face a shortage. But I would also like to remind that this is obviously not going to be a long-lasting thing, and you shouldn't hoard meat because then you'd be taking away supplies for others. So the second thing that I'd like to talk about is that 15 children are hospitalized in New York with a mysterious illness possibly tied to the Covid-19. So in New York City, 15 children, many of whom who had the virus or have recently been in contact with the virus, are hospitalized, and many children in European countries have also been sickened with this syndrome. This syndrome is most likely Kawasaki disease, a rare illness in children that involves the inflammation of the blood vessels, including coronary arteries. And this is just an extremely rare disease, and it's quite serious. So it's described as the illness as a multi-system inflammatory syndrome, and it is potentially associated with the COVID-19. And so the syndrome has been receiving growing attention in recent weeks because cases have begun appearing in European countries, in US now that I've seen it, and they most likely involve rashes, vomiting, and just quite abdominal pain and fever. So these are just quite some of the symptoms, and sometimes conjunctivitis or inflammation of the eye and swollen lymph nodes are also symptoms of this disease. So none of the children have died yet, so that's a relief. But honestly, this is just another impact of how the coronavirus affects each person individually. And here, this is obviously a case, but I do hope that these children get better quickly, because after all, this is a very serious disease. But let's wish the best. So the third thing that I'd like to talk about is that children can transmit the virus to adults, which may further delay the reopening of schools. According to two studies, one study published in the journal Science, a team analyzed data from 2 cities in China and found that children were about a third as susceptible to infection as adults were, and that was before the schools were opening. However, after the schools opening, children had about 3 times as many contacts as adults and 3 times as many opportunities to become infected, essentially evening out the risk. So basically, they have the same amount of risk for transmitting and receiving coronavirus infections. And by closing schools, they can reduce the surge of infections by about 40 to 60% and slow the epidemic's course. The second study by a group of German researchers tested children and adults and found that children who tested positive harbor just as much virus as adults do, and sometimes more, and are just as infectious. Basically, what is shown here is that children, after they go to school, they come in contact with the virus more frequently than adults, and after that, sometimes they could be even more dangerous than adults. And this is something that schools should definitely take account for, because one, we need the schools to reopen the economy, because if children can return to school, then adults can return to work, which will boost the economy. However, we do realize that if we reopen schools, we might meet a second wave of the outbreak, and that could even be extremely deadly. So that's just another thing that schools have to consider, and districts have to consider before reopening the school. That's it. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you.